In the heart of a town painted with sunlight and cobblestone streets, there stood a little shop called Arthur's Attic. The name was fitting. Inside, forgotten treasures and whispered histories lined the shelves. The owner, Arthur, a man with kind eyes and a slightly stooped posture from years of peering at tiny details, loved his collection. He saw the soul in every chipped teacup and the stories in every faded photograph. Arthur's attic was his dream, but dreams, as he was learning, needed to pay the bills. The town was small, and while people admired his wares, they didn't always buy. A quiet desperation began to creep into the corners of the shop, settling like dust on the mahogany furniture. That's when a new, less noble idea took root in Arthur's mind. Perhaps, he thought, the stories just needed a little embellishment. So he began. A simple, sturdy rocking chair, crafted by a local carpenter 50 years ago, became a rare collector's piece from a secluded mountain artisan. A tarnished silver locket, found in a box of assorted trinkets, was suddenly a cherished heirloom from a noble family, passed down through generations. He'd weave these tales with such conviction, his voice hushed with reverence, that customers were often captivated. Sales did pick up for a while. The bell above his door jingled more frequently, and the cash register sang a happier tune. But Arthur started to notice something else. The initial spark of excitement in a customer's eyes would often be replaced by a shadow of disappointment upon a second look. He saw people whispering to each other as they left, their shoulders slumped. The cheerful chime of the bell began to sound hollow, almost accusatory. He once overheard a customer outside his shop window telling a friend, "It's a lovely place, but I'm not sure you can believe a word he says." The words stung more than any financial loss. The trust he was losing was far more valuable than the extra money he was making. His dream shop was turning into a house of illusions, and he felt like the worst kind of magician. One crisp autumn afternoon, the bell chimed softly. Standing in the doorway was a little girl, no older than 7, clutching a heavy ceramic piggy bank. She had wide, earnest eyes and a determined set to her small chin. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm looking for a birthday present for my mom. I've saved up all my money." She placed the piggy bank on the counter with a heavy thud. The sight of her, so full of hope and trust, was like a splash of cold water. Arthur's usual sales pitch died on his lips. He couldn't bring himself to spin a fantastical tale for this child. He looked around his shop, seeing it not as a collection of items to be sold, but as a room full of genuine, quiet histories. His gaze landed on a small, unassuming music box on a high shelf. It was made of simple pine, with a delicate, hand-painted bluebird on the lid. It wasn't fancy or rare. It wouldn't fetch a high price. He carefully took it down and placed it on the counter in front of the girl. "This one," he began, his voice softer than usual, "is special. But not because it belonged to a queen or a famous actress." He opened the lid, and a gentle tinkling melody filled the quiet shop. This music box was made about 30 years ago by a man who lived just a few streets from here. He was a clockmaker, but his real passion was making these little boxes. He made this one for his wife, just because. The bluebird was her favorite. She said the music sounded like happiness. He paused, looking at the little girl. Her eyes were wide, not with the awe of a grand story, but with genuine wonder. He and his wife moved away to be closer to their grandchildren, Arthur continued. And they sold some of their things. That's how this little box found its way here. His story isn't about riches or fame. It's about love. The simple, everyday kind. The little girl listened, captivated. She reached out a small finger and gently traced the painted bluebird. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "My mom loves bluebirds. And she loves music that sounds like happiness." She looked up at him, her face beaming. "I'll take it." Together, they carefully emptied the piggy bank, counting out a collection of coins that was just enough. As Arthur wrapped the music box in soft paper and tied it with a simple ribbon, he felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't realized was there. The little girl clutched the package to her chest as if it were the greatest treasure in the world. "Thank you," she said, giving him a joyful gap-toothed smile before the bell chimed her departure. Arthur watched her go, the tinkling of the bell sounding sweeter than it had in months. That smile, that pure, unadulterated joy, was worth more than any inflated price tag. It was real. From that day forward, everything changed. Arthur went through his shop, item by item, and relearned their true stories. The rare rocking chair was sold to a young couple expecting their first child, with the honest tale that it had already rocked 3 generations of local babies to sleep. They loved it even more for that. The heirloom locket was bought by a teenager who wanted to put her own photo inside and start her own tradition. Arthur's attic transformed. It was no longer a place of grand fictions, but a library of small, authentic truths. He sold a teapot by telling the story of the elderly woman who hosted a weekly book club with it. He sold a set of woodworking tools by recounting the life of the retired carpenter who had used them to build birdhouses for his neighbors. Word began to spread through the town, but this time the whispers were different. People came not just to buy, but to listen. They came for the connection, for the piece of history they could hold in their hands. The shop became a gathering place, a warm and welcoming hub where every object had a voice, and Arthur was its trusted interpreter. The bell above the door now chimed constantly, a cheerful, steady rhythm that became the heartbeat of the town square. Arthur's attic wasn't just the most successful shop in town. It was the most beloved. Arthur learned that he wasn't just selling antiques. He was selling stories, connection, and trust. And in a shop full of forgotten treasures, he had finally discovered the most valuable one of all: honesty. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more tales that warm the heart. We'll see you in the next one.